This week on the Gospel Cast, we're actually going to go back to Dr. Desmond Henry for a second episode. He just created so much good content for us that we had to have him back so that we could really cover all the ground. Desmond is fascinating because he entered the picture for the Palau team as COVID was happening in the world, and Luis was just getting ready to go to heaven. And so the interesting thing about Desmond's run with the Palau team is that during this period of time where the world is shutting down, Desmond is trying to find his footing with Palau. And he ends up building a collaborative model, a model that we use today in all our international outreach. And it has blown the lid and the expectations off what any singular evangelistic association really thinks was possible. And what's really fascinating about the collaborative model is that evangelists are doing this work together, sharing their stuff, sharing this platform. In fact, there's so many evangelists involved. I would probably say that a person at a festival attending a G&E outreach may not even know the name of the evangelist who led them to the Lord, which I think is just absolutely profound. We're rewriting the script of what it means to share the gospel as an evangelistic community. We're doing it together in community, caring for each other's ministries and platforming each other. It's a really beautiful thing, and it's an innovation and a value that we find within Gen Z as well. So let's go back to Desmond for part 2. You're going to really enjoy this conversation as we kick things off season 4, episode 3 of the Gospel Cast. Welcome to the Faith to Faith Gospel Cast, where we talk about all things related to God, faith, missions, leadership, side hustles, and what Jesus is doing in the next generation. I'm your host, Tommy Ashiro, and I want to welcome you to the program. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button and come back for a new episode each week. With all that said, let's jump into today's episode. Dr. Des. Welcome back.
Tom.
I didn't even change my clothes for this thing.
You didn't even shave.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's the same day, not for everybody else, but for us, we're going to just keep plowing because we hit a vein, so many good things, and you drew me in because I'm an evangelism nerd too. Like, I like to talk about not just the theory and not just like the book parts of how these things work, systems, but also the historical value of Palau and all the good things that God has done through the ministry of some great evangelists throughout time. I mean, it's awesome to kind of explore these things. And last time you were really sharing a lot about how you stepped into this world with a lot of theory and with a lot of study, but also some background in missions and getting excited and passionate about getting the gospel out there. But then kind of taking the bull by the horns and stepping in hard, running your first outreach on behalf of the Global Network, winning the respect and appreciation of some of our older members. And then we kind of like left it on a cliffhanger for where does Dr. Des go next? And it got me thinking about reading Luis's book, which he wrote right before he passed away. And he doesn't write chronologically everything that happened in his life. It's kind of like he highlights different people that are important to him in this book. A Life on Fire is what I'm talking about. And I'm thinking about when he talks about where his passion for the gospel comes from and those early days of serving Christ in missional contexts. Because before Palau was ever an evangelistic association, it was just a couple who wanted to be obedient to the call, moving a couple places around the world and trying to serve the local church and grow the local church through church planting, through coming alongside the church and doing outreaches. Yeah. And you share the same origin story as the Palau family.
And don't forget, Luis served as president of Overseas Crusade, which is a mission organization.
That's right. That's right.
Historically as well. So I think that impacts his direction and some of the the nuances of what his ministry looked like as well.
That's true. So, Luis Palau, the young ones don't really know him that well. They might have heard some towards the end on K-Love, just hearing his voice and little snippets of his talks. anyone who's come through the Pulse 100 has heard Nick Hall share the story over and over again of how Luis helped him get started, how he was someone Nick looked up to and modeled his early ministry moves after Luis, went to for advice, mentorship, and then really just leveraged the Palau team to help grow his ministry, as I have done as well, looking up to these sort of historic moments where God has used groups like Billy Graham Association and Luis Palau Association to really not just preach the gospel to large crowds, but I think the real hallmark of the Evangelistic Association, Billy Graham's legacy, Luis Palau's legacy, is that partnership with the local church and gathering the church leaders from a whole city, from a whole region, unifying them together, and then mobilizing them to proclaim Christ as one. It's quite an undertaking.
Yeah.
And just thinking about this past summer, Zimbabwe, how many churches, I know that this data is probably more fresh, so I'm trying to pull on something that's current. How many churches, church leaders would you imagine had to be drawn in for us to do the 3 cities in Zimbabwe this past summer?
And of course, it was a little more than just the 3 cities. There were other affinity spring, offshoots of that, but it was 4,592 churches. 4,900 churches. Now, some of them, of course, are small churches. Some of them are sort of
but each one is represented by a pastor, right?
Yeah,
we're talking about the amount of churches that are this almost nearly the size of our network for one season of outreach in one country.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we're saying?
Correct. Yeah.
That's mind-blowing. And I feel like, obviously, we're talking about this in an Africa context, and everything just seems to be really bigger in Africa. But there was a time where this was happening in the United States and the UK.
Right.
Festivals were called crusades, and crusades would go on for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, do you think, and I don't know if this has ever occurred to you, that your hiring at the Palau team in a way is reaching into a part of the world that's sort of a little bit progressing slower in time than where the West is, and we're reaching back into sort of something we remember in our own past and pulling you into our present and reliving in Africa what we experienced in the previous generation. I don't know. Have you ever had that thought?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, totally. And I think the reality is, we could get stuck in ministry in that way and just kind of think, oh, that's the future. Everything's going to happen outside of North America. But as a South African, I think we share a lot of similarities with North America, because we kind of find ourselves in a similar position. There's a lot of similarities in
for sure
culture,
yes,
and where the church is, and we've sent missionaries outside of South Africa, evangelized and focused outside the borders of South Africa, and somehow have seen, I think, a decline within South Africa as well. And so, yes, there is a lot of growth happening in Africa for sure, but I think that is also, in my view, academically very limited, and I feel we're on the cusp of a lot of cultural changes. As secularization grows and starts to change the landscape of Africa, we're going to see similar results to what we see in the Western world.
And probably faster.
Oh, absolutely.
But that wasn't meant to be a slam or a dig in any way. But by choosing you, this is only occurring to me in between episodes here. What Kevin and team has done is they've reached back into our own past to a fella who they don't make them this way in the United States anymore. They just don't. Our academics are, and this is a broad, there are exceptions to the rule, but this is a broad sweeping statement, and I hope I don't offend people. I'm not trying to offend you, but America is very plastic and very microwave and very fast foody. And that means that the quality of people that we're creating in this country, culturally, not just church, but just culturally, is the same. And we are not focused, and we are entitled, and we're a little bit lazy. And I'm saying it because I'm in this culture too. I'm saying it as one of us.
Yeah.
And by reaching back into outside of our Western context and pulling you forward into the present, we have disrupted all of the fast-moving and really standard of quality decreasing to a kind of man that America doesn't make anymore. And I'm not saying we're not out there.
Yeah. I never thought of that.
Well, we're going to have a few moments like that because, but that's not all. And I'm not saying that's everything, but this is a thought that I had as we wrapped up our last conversation. It's not fully our own fault that we don't make them this way anymore. Like, we're trying our best, but part of what got me thinking about this is you saying the world is speeding up. It's speeding up very quickly.
Yeah.
Even before we learn our lessons, everything's changed already anyway. And that is true on so many levels. But you pair that with our own standard of living and our own access to things and our own ease of life, and our stamina for the things of God is also declining with our access to all these wonderful good tools and things and everything. It's just declining. So, we have to look further for everything. In a business context, we have to look to outside the Western world for hard workers who will do the long days, who will accept the lower wages to provide for their families. From the Western perspective, it's not just getting the job done, but like finding workers who are happy to get it done without a whole list of demands. So like that's in a very practical, secular piece of my brain that's thinking about that. And I'm not reducing you down to a rice farmer that we've enslaved, but maybe that's what happens. Like maybe that, but I'm just saying, like academically, I listen to you talk and I think, man, you're built differently than us here in the West. In the West, we value large volumes of work and completing them and moving through large bodies of material. But is it actually challenging material? I did my master's in England, and I would say not so much. I felt like a real idiot in British context going through university, and that I was babied through undergrad. And I think I would probably struggle if I had to be thrown back into a challenging academic situation. Even though I'm a little more mature, maybe I'd be able to limp my way through it, but not without real struggle.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make the whole show about that, but I just thought there's an insight there for you that, for such a time as this, that God has called you, someone who's built different than what we've got going on today, to help us build into the future. Because these are the kind of men God needs to complete the Great Commission. And so I honor you in that, Desmond.
Oh, that's kind of you. Honestly. Interesting. Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
So let's talk about the beginning a little bit more, because I want people to know you. And I know a little bit about you because we've had some of these talks as we travel around the world together. Right. And before I ask the probing questions into your past, I want to tip my hat again at what we talked about at the end of the last episode, how you started building trust. You started to get to know the older members of the network, and the attitude about you started to change. And I want to set aside network politics for a minute and just ask you a practical question about missions. What do you think is so transformative about going somewhere together? Like, why do you think that makes the relationship evolve in such a positive or negative way? Yeah. Just is it the sense of adventure, or is it purpose? Maybe it's all of these things, but I'd love for you to speak into that.
Ooh, I love this. Tom, from the beginning, we are created in the image of God.
Okay.
And in the likeness of God.
Yeah.
God exists in triuneness, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And this Father, Son, and Holy Spirit exists on mission together. The Great Commission, Matthew 28, I baptize them, teach them, etc., in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The Gospel of John and the Great Commission there is the Father has sent me, so I'm sending you.
Whoa, I never thought of that.
Chapter 1 and verse 8, you'll be filled with the Holy Spirit and you'll be my witnesses. And so the fullness of God is at work in the fullness of mission. And so we have a triune God in community serving the mission of God. Who are we to think that we could do it on our own?
Well, we can't.
Right?
We definitely can't.
And so when we serve together on mission, we, in a sense, are living out the Imago Dei in the Missio Dei. So the creation in the image of God and the mission of God coalesce into something that only the Spirit of God can birth in people. And that is why serving God in mission in this way is so powerful.
Okay, so I want to point out something there because, one of the translation issues, not between countries, but between evangelist and pastor, is a proclamation versus discipleship.
Yeah.
There's a huge breakdown there. I've never talked about discipleship in 25 years of ministry until August 2025. And now I'm talking about discipleship all the time.
Yeah.
It's helping me with pastors a lot and with donors. That's not why I'm doing it, but it's a side benefit for sure. But
Yeah.
when we talk about discipleship, and you're talking about God's transforming work when we're sent and we're sent out together, you are talking about a level of community that I don't think pastors foster within the context of church building life. And I know that a lot of pastors would imagine their community and they plant their cells or their small groups around the building. And so they're like, no. We exist in community in the broader context of where we live.
Yeah.
But you just described something totally different, like this moving community where we see each other on the road, on the move.
Yeah.
And we meet in different places around the world. Old friends who don't see each other every day.
Yeah.
But we meet up in cities and we have our coffees in airports together and we catch up on where we've been, what we've been up to. And this is a very, very different kind of community, isn't it?
You've just described it there in real terms. We're speaking about the unfolding kingdom of God and the kingdom of the world.
This is very interesting.
And so we see even within the church community, secularism has so overtaken what the Bible speaks about in terms of community. So the secular agenda has increasingly become more individualistic. I've been coming to America for the last 20 plus years, and I've seen from an outsider's perspective how individualistic America has become.
And that's dangerous.
And the
that's
more
what you're saying, right?
individualistic it becomes, obviously it's more dangerous, but the more polarization there is as well. Because we're looking, Paul says, do not serve your own interests alone, but look also to the interests of others, other people.
Yeah, right.
And so we have lost a very important kingdom principle. But of course, in the context of evangelism, we mustn't forget, looking at the Great Commission as one example, that evangelism and discipleship go hand in glove. You can't evangelize and not disciple, and you can't disciple someone without them evangelizing. That's not a complete circle. And so looking at the Great Commission, we often say, I've heard pastors preach, I would say incorrectly, the command, there's an imperative of the Great Commission is that you go. And that's not true, because if you look up in the Strong's Concordance is right over here on your desk.
Under the
You know,
camera.
going is a participle in the Greek, which means it's not go, it's not the command. The command of Matthew 28 is to make disciples. What is a disciple? A disciple is someone who follows. Follows who? Follows Jesus. Why? To the glory of God. How? In the power of the Holy Spirit. So again, that same principle that we speak about in the Pauline theology, for instance, of being a new creation, is it's restoring the image that has been broken by sin. And that image is then lived out in mission expressions, which is not in isolation of discipleship and evangelism. It's both and. And so I think that is resolved as we live out the new creation motif.
So let me tease that out a little bit more, because I wasn't in Malawi, but I can imagine a Bob Lentz. I could imagine a Keith Cook. These are senior leaders of Global Network who've been around a long time. I can imagine them showing up there with their bags, being greeted at the airport by whoever we've contracted in to pick them up, and they're hopping in the van, and they're, hey, Bob, how's it going? Oh, great. I just got back from South Korea. It was awesome. We saw 1,000 people. 10 million came to Christ. I don't know how the math works on that, but that's what it was. We get in the car. We slap each other on the back. We're heading out. Oh, man, I'm so tired. But let's get some dinner in a couple hours. And when we get to dinner, we're together. And Desmond Henry walks into the room. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. And
Getting there.
I'm ready for you, or we've been preparing for you to come, and we'll have some dinner and do some introductions. And I can see like the wheels turning, like, okay, we're here. What's this going to be like? And I'm sure it involved going down to the site where the stage was being built and having a prayer and almost, because it's too late for vision now, like it's happening.
Yeah.
But it's the evangelists that have come together to collaborate, their first glimpse about what's about to happen. And this prayer is like, okay, maybe you didn't catch the vision, but can you see it now?
Yeah.
Can you see the stage going up now? Can you see the crowds when you close your eyes now? And that you are about to do this together. And so as we pray and as we co-mission together, we're going to join hands right now in this moment. And I'm going to ask all of you to get each other's back and to be a team, even though you're part of different organizations. And we're going to do this thing together. And as everybody joins their hands, and as Desmond and a couple others say the prayer, it's that first sense of unity, this first sense of, whoa, something cool is about to happen. The Holy Spirit begins to move in hearts. And even in that moment, right, God is shifting the atmosphere, right? And I can also imagine, even though I wasn't there in Malawi, that we head back to the hotel and there's some meals and there's side conversations and, wow, this might actually work. This might actually be cool. But they're also watching Desmond flip open his laptop and hop on a Zoom call with Portland because, well, budget season's just a couple months away, and you start to wear all these different hats. And these older evangelists are watching you work and going, oh, maybe this guy isn't an idiot after all. and you know, I could say this because when we do get to Kenya a year later, that's what I was experiencing. And
Wait, what? You thought I was an idiot?
No, never once said idiot. That was all Bob Lentz. Just kidding, Bob. He didn't say that. But just going, there is a strategy here. There's a plan. This is not by accident. And so my point of saying all that and just kind of like walking through that process is going, number one, I as an evangelist needed to sort of see the bigger thing than myself that I'm a part of within Global Network of Evangelists. Number two, I'm building relationship on the ground with all these people that we're doing a very holy and important and exciting activity. We're going to experience this thing together. And then number three, we've got this wise old guide He's not older than me, but sometimes acting older than me, who's smart, educated, provost word guy, seminary professor guy who's going to now unpack what's happening biblically for me as I'm experiencing that, which is helping to form my whole doctrine on how I do mission with my buddies.
Yeah.
And now we're doing together, we're learning, we're experiencing, we're being stretched, and we're uncomfortable because we're not at home. And God is recreating us as we're proclaiming Christ in this city that needs him so much. Is that it? Did I catch it?
Yeah, that's not bad. Except the accent is, hot potato in your mouth. Tom.
All right,
hot
so
potato.
let's go back to the beginning, Desmond, because it took us a while to get there. But I wanted to finish what we were doing in the last episode.
Yeah.
And that finishes it for me, I hope, I think. I want to go back to your origin story. You're 9 years old. The bus from Florida rolls up, but there's no palm trees here. But you are going to meet Christ. But there's an even more powerful backstory there, which is this whole dad thing you got going on. And the reason why I'd like you to speak into that is because that's a very prevalent issue in this country. There's a lot of absent fathers in America. It's not limited to America, but I would say with working with the next generation, in almost every situation where someone has latched on to me for a very long time, there is an absence of a father there.
Sure.
So take me back to the even further beginning, before the bus, before mom's buying the cigarettes. Rewind the tape.
Rewind.
To moment of, not moment of conception, but somewhere in that general vibe. Tell me about that.
Well, my mom and dad met at a party, basically hooked up. They were older. In fact, my mom actually turns 80 this year.
Whoa.
So she's 40 years older than me.
Wow.
So had me at 40. Did not have other children. My father was a busy guy. Let's just say that.
What does that mean?
So,
was he preaching to a lot of people?
He was a sperm donor.
Oh,
right. And so I have many siblings. It's
how many siblings? Because there is a record on this show of
a lot.
How many is a lot?
I think, as far as we know, and I always qualify it by that. As far as you know, there's 6 of us.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah. It's a fascinating thing.
There's 6?
Yeah, there's 6. And I didn't meet them all at once. Well, that's a weird story. So let me start from the beginning.
6 is the limit. It's just 6.
From what I understand, there's 6. And
Do you
many
know,
of them from different
that's not the record on this show.
Oh, I'm sure.
We have a young member of of G&E.
Yeah.
And 6 might be just from his mom.
Wow.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Want to guess how? I want to guess how many siblings he has.
8.
Keep going.
14.
Keep going.
No, you're kidding.
Keep going.
16.
Way more.
No. 22.
Keep going.
Okay. Just give me the number, Tom.
You almost did it. You went
30?
30 that we know about.
Yeah.
Emphasis on that we know about.
That we know about.
Unbelievable. And that's the thing, we live in a fallen, sinful, broken world. And,
John Ford.
Yeah, there we go. And again, I experienced that as a kid growing up. I didn't have a dad to take me to sports, to teach me how to shave. I had a tough, and what's also strange, and I suppose this is hard to say while my mom is still alive, I guess, but she isn't all that mentally stable either. So I grew up in an environment that wasn't very nurturing. She was unemployed for most of my childhood life.
Whoa.
And so I had to learn from a very young age how to handle complex life issues and practical issues.
Yeah. So these 6 siblings, are they all from different moms?
Most of them from different moms. And
Okay.
how I met them mostly was at my dad's funeral. But
So you didn't even know?
No.
them.
So I just barely knew my dad's name. I knew he had an electrical business, a carpet business. And so I looked him up in the phone book the one time, and I phoned his offices, and that's
crazy.
how I initiated a relationship. Because
Whoa.
what would happen was my mom would take me to like our version of Cracker Barrel in South Africa, called Wimpy, and we'd sit at Wimpy, and we'd wait for my dad to come because she said your dad wants to meet you, and so my dad wouldn't show up. But what would happen was she would say, a different time to meet to him, to what we would be, we'd show up. And so we'd show up at a different time, and she'd say to me multiple times, see, he doesn't care about you. And so
that's devastating.
it was hard. It wasn't hard just because I didn't grow up with a dad, but it was hard because I grew up thinking that my dad hated me. And then we'd meet him in court over maintenance and money issues and things like that. And so yeah, I grew up in that kind of environment, had to, cook meals from a very young age, and we were very poor. So we really didn't have a lot of resources. And when I say poor, we didn't even have a closet in our house.
Whoa.
Fun story. I started working at a grocery store at the age of 16, and I didn't have a closet, and they started to bring in these refrigerators into the store to sell refrigerators.
Wow.
And so I had this imagination, and I took this massive cardboard box home. Imagine carrying it home, 2 or 3 kilometers down the road, carrying a massive box. And I was like, wow, this could be a cupboard. And so I put the box in my room, and I use a permanent marker to color it in because I didn't have paint. I put a broomstick in the top. I cut a hole in it, and that became my closet.
Wow.
That was great,
Ingenuity.
And there we go. But fast forward, I actually met my dad for the first time when I was 21, and my wife, my now wife, Laura, she tracked him down, and she invited him to my 21st birthday.
Wow.
And so I met him for the first time at my 21st birthday party, which was interesting. And he wasn't a Christian. I'm not sure where he landed up in the end, and that's another story. But he passed away during the first year of me being at Palau. And so I'm at my father's funeral. I'm doing it because
this is in 2018?
2019. 2019.
Okay.
So I'm doing the funeral service, and I think I'm being a little funny. So I start off the funeral service and say, hi, my name is Desmond Henry, and as far as I know, I'm the last born son of Stanley Goslin. Well, this is like a Jerry Springer show. In the front row, imagine this. This messes you up as you're trying to do this. In the front row, this guy stands up and he starts crying. And he says, "You're my brother." I'm like, what? Like, you're my brother? I'm like, okay, buddy, sit down now. Like, what are you doing? He's like, you're my brother. I'm like, okay, Desmond, this is going to be a very serious funeral.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, my siblings, it's just a messed up situation. And so I'm, trying to figure out now how to handle this kind of situation. It's not easy,
Yeah.
But growing up, I think one of the things I struggled with was, how do I relate to God? I went to a school that forced us to say the Lord's Prayer every day. And I hated that opening phrase for a long time. Our Father in heaven.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, what kind of a father are you, God? And so I grew up as a very angry kid. I was expelled from school because I was angry and lashing out against people and things, destroyed things in school. I failed grade 3 as a result. In fact, I remember this teacher very clearly, Mrs. Hutchinson. She had like a witch nose, this long nose, and she wore her glasses down there. At least that's my mind's conceptualization of her. She wouldn't teach me for a year. She sent me to an empty class next door and sent other kids to teach me. Wow. So it was just like this weird kind of childhood growing up. And when I came to faith, everything changed for me.
At 9?
Absolutely everything changed for me. So at 9, and then I recommitted my life in my final year of school at the age of 17.
Okay.
And really at the age of 17, that is when everything changed for me.
Okay.
You know, Paul speaks about, and that's one of my favorite verses, the new creation. It just clicked. And I realized I have a loving Father in heaven who cares deeply about me. And not only that, he has a plan for my life, and he is going to help me navigate life and all these kinds of things. And that was a pivotal moment for me. But beyond that was this guy I mentioned in the first part of the series, Pastor Norman. Pastor Norman and his wife, Garby, became very pivotal mentors to me in the faith. And so that was very helpful to me, to have someone to look up to and respect and really, you know, who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at all.
Even though he told you, don't go to ministry, go get a job.
Yeah.
He was parenting you.
He was that's what he was doing, is mentoring me and shaping me. And I remember
great.
One story. I used to jog back in the day. I don't jog now. I should probably, but I was out on a jog, and I remember my mother and I had a fight because I wanted to date Lara, and she was very codependent. She didn't want to be in ministry.
Were you codependent too?
Not at all. I was very independent. I mean, I could do anything. You know, I ran the house.
So how does that work? Because it takes two to be co.
Well, sorry, she was very dependent on me.
On you.
Yeah, very dependent on me. Okay. And I suppose in some senses, growing up, you know, I kind of rejected some of those things because there were just some weird ideas and weird things that you know, that transpired. But I just realized, like, God wants me to be in ministry. She wants me to go into the secular world and make money so I could look after her. And I just had to choose obedience to God over obedience to her. But how do you honor your parents and honor God? And I really struggled with that point. And I remember literally being on a jog, and I was just weeping and weeping and weeping. And as I looked up, I was standing in front of the church. We call it the manse. What do you call it? I don't know. The house that the pastor lives in.
Oh, the parsonage.
Parsonage. There we go. All Americans speak interesting English.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was standing in front, and I was just weeping, and I ring the bell, and Pastor Norman and his wife Garby opened it up, and they welcomed me in, and they had coffee with me, and it was an interesting experience because, again, they just listened. They just listened. And I said, I have to move out of home. You know, I'm at the age of 18. I have to move out of home because if I don't move out of home, I really feel like I'm going to be hampered. And so I had no one to go to. I mean, where do I go, you know? And so they said, come and stay with us. And so I moved in with them for 3 months. And again, they parented me. They nurtured me. Garby, in fact, our first daughter, Gabriella, is named after this individual who was a tremendous blessing to me personally. She would make me coffee every morning, 6 a.m., and she'd drop it off at my door with some biscotti. And so she really started to emulate, you know, this is what a mother is like in life, you know. And Norman, I remember Norman with his big banana fingers, young man, are you blind? And at that time, I was serving at the church as a youth pastor, and I was like, no, sir, I'm not blind. Young man, can't you see what's in front of your eyes? I'm like, oh, not really. Lara would be perfect for you. What's wrong with you, you know? And so he helped me see, you know, Lara is perfect for me, you know? And so it kind of mentored and just nudged me in good ways to, you know, towards health and holism. And
that's really cool.
Because of that relationship, you know, I think I am where I am today.
That's amazing. That's a great segue into next generation kind of conversation. Mm-hmm. I think about when I was of next generation age.
A long time ago.
Thanks for that. You should know the story behind this goat. Do you know it?
It's a goat? I thought it was like a chicken.
It's a goat. Okay. It's a screaming goat, and it's because I had burned my foot on an ember upstairs in the we had a solo stove outside, little bonfire, and the ember got stuck in between my sandal and my foot, and it seared the bottom of my foot. So I started and Emma, instead of helping me, my stepdaughter, decided to make a video about it. So while I'm burning with a seared foot, she's making a video, and she held on to it for a couple of years till Cheyenne Ewing came to our house. She gave that said video to Cheyenne, who then stitched it with a kind of group of
I
screaming
need to
goats
see this video.
and stitched it and then put it out for the internet and had all these kids share this all over the internet. So now we have this goat that screams and tells us when it's time to take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
Hey, my name is Desmond Henry, and it's a joy to serve as the director of the Global Network of Evangelists. At GNE, we're all about creating communities of evangelists that are committed to completing the Great Commission together. And we're inviting you to be a part of one of the incredible collaborative opportunities in 2026. Sign up on evangelist.global/BGNE and be a part of what God is doing around the world.
So I'm internet famous for the Screaming Goat video. We're back after our break. It was a very short break. And I'm here with Desmond Henry, who's going to continue. We're going to talk about next generation type stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting you told that story about your pastor, because the previous director of GNE, when it was called Luis Palau's Next Generation Evangelist, when I was coming up in my 20s, it was Dr. Tim Robnett. The legend, the man, the myth.
Coach.
We called him Coach, but he became so much more. And when I directed my first mission with Palau, serving Brad Butcher's ministry, I, of course, mentioned in the last episode, Nigel Gordon was the guy who handed off to me. But as we got closer to the mission, the mission week, Tim flew with me, and he walked beside me more than a coach. Like, he walked beside me on that mission and gave me that instant feedback and really mentored me during the mission. I remember when we arrived in Poland, he handed me the money when we arrived at the hotel. And as a 22-year-old, 21, 22, maybe even 23-year-old kid, I'd never held that much money in my life.
Right.
For the whole mission. And he said, young man, you better find a safe, because if you lose it, we're all in big trouble. And like, that was part of the way he was coaching and mentoring me. And I felt the weight of it. And I also felt empowered.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting empowerment, because even though he dropped the weight in my hands, he was also this big, strong Stanford football player kind of guy who was standing nearby watching me. So I felt like I could do it. And I wanted to show Tim I could handle it. I wanted to show the tough guy that I could be a tough guy too. And so I rose up to the occasion for that mission. Yeah. And I remember after every win or every loss, Tim would be there on the sidelines of the game, because I think of him as a coach. Played a football player, Stanford guy. I see the coach on the sidelines going, hey, what worked about this? What didn't work? What do we need to, just helping me keep my head in the game, keep focused. Just like a good coach. And then when my first wife, Amy, passed away, I moved in with Tim. And I moved on to the ranch there. And he has horses. And he taught me how to shovel horse crap for the next 6-8 weeks while I was mourning my wife and discipling me through that hard labor. But also, like giving me something else to think about, something else to process. So, even though there was a few directors in between him and you, he was the last kind of like mainstay, doing it a long time, shaping the network. Early 20s, it was such a healthy thing, and a lot of collaboration and a lot of relationships happening at that juncture. Yeah. So in a way, when you stepped in, even in that early time, I could see a young Dr. Tim in front of me who came around and was listening a lot and who was spending a lot of time with the members who were there and asking questions. I remember that phase. I remember some of our early conversations, and I remember your interest. I remember after Bridgeport City Fest here in Connecticut, you writing me a note, a letter, which is also something people don't do much. I write a lot of letters, a lot of postcards, things like that, but it's not something people do anymore. Again, from a different time you are, and hands it to me and said, "Oh, don't Don't look for money in there. There's no money in there. Just a little something for me. But there's no something like money. I remember laughing about that, opening that letter and seeing your heart for relationship and building the network around real companionship, brotherhood in the gospel. And I appreciated that. So kind of now shifting the lens into bringing me into this equation because I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
I honestly thought, I remember there was a moment where you called me sometime in that Bridgeport festival season and you said, we're probably going to be looking to hire some young guys to help us in North America.
Yeah.
And I remember immediately starting to think through all these how to life young guys and giving you names. How about Nick Hurst? He's a young guy. He's like a Billy Graham in skinny jeans, and you just want to slap him across the face or pat his head. One of the two. And trying to identify those young guys coming up.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I was still in the young guy category. So take me through. I'm building a team. I'm starting to think about the future and next generation, and just take me into that part of the story.
That's great because I think, when I said that to you, in a sense, it was probably a default answer because that was what was the going thought. Like, if you, at that time, and still today, the sexy thing is to find the young guy or girl, hire them, leverage their influence for your growth and development and, milk them for all they've got, and it sounds bad, but I guess it exemplifies some of the worst of our culture out there, secular and sacred. And so, that was the thought. It's like, well, I mean, everyone's doing that. Hire the young person, they'll solve the problem, etc. And as I journeyed more and more in the network development, the people that we started to draw closer to were people that I found understood the nature of the network and were the products of the network as well. And when I invited you to come to Portland to share with our team, my thought was just, I want our team to understand the why. So the why is a Tom Yashiro. And you shared your story, and many of them had known that before. Some of the guys were newer and they needed to hear it. But
there was a lot of people in that room that I had no idea who they were.
This is the journey. So we are wanting to raise Toms in every country around the world. And what that means is we don't want to just grow the network to thousands and thousands of people. It has to be personal. It has to be community oriented. It's got to be deeply relational. We're not a network that leverages people to achieve our goals and our outcomes. That's not the kind of network we want to be. There are people who do that. There are people who leverage out there and who draw people in so that they could, use them for whatever. But that's not what we want at all. And so I really wanted our team to get a fresh understanding of this is the person that they need to picture, and this is the reason why we're doing what we're doing. And then it occurred to me that actually we're looking for people to hire. We don't need to hire a search firm to find external people to bring them in to serve the network when they have no idea of the why. They have no idea of the end result or the outcome. That doesn't make sense. We've got people in the network who understand it. They've benefited from it. And so who better to draw closer in relationship than those who exemplify the network itself? And so in our strategies, even for staffing, that is something that is absolutely core to me.
Yeah.
The people that we draw closer, the people that we hire are people that exemplify not only the vision and the mission of the network, but the values of the network as well. And there have been times when we've got people on board who don't exemplify that, and it's just not worked well. And so we don't tend to do that. And I don't see any time in the near future that we're going to do that, because it just isn't effective. It derails us and it doesn't help us to achieve the end goal.
That's a lot to take in. I remember when you asked me if I'd consider it,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't even in my brain that was a consideration. So I was like shocked. Like my first reaction to you asking me to think about it was like shock, but also it was like, yeah, like that's awesome.
Yeah.
To serve the next generation and to think about the evangelists coming up, I don't think I've ever not thought about that.
Yeah.
But when you asked me to identify and help connect new evangelists into the network from the next generation, it wasn't like, it was like yes in my heart, but it was like, oh wait, there's some things to think about. I need to think about how things landed with Dr. Tim, and I need to go talk to him and see if he's cool with this arrangement. Not just is he cool with this arrangement, but like, is he still Dr. Tim to me? Like, would he still be Dr. Tim to me if I were to kind of do this? And I viewed it as like a holy thing because of how much it's not like I idolize the Palau team, but the Palau team has been really the first group, and I say group because it wasn't like Luis singled me out and said, you.
Yeah.
It was like a group of leaders within the G&E network, staff at Palau that affirmed me and identified me, saw me and helped me. So I viewed the ask as a very holy ask. And then I went and spent 8 hours at Tim's house. After we had that discussion, I went straight to Tim's, sat with him and his wife, and we spent, it spanned 2 meals. And there's a lot of history there, and there's ups and downs in it. And Dr. Tim at that point in time was not that engaged with the network, even though he'd built it on his back and supplied a lot of vision for it. So we had to kind of delve into some pain points in Tim's life to talk about me participating. And it was a wild journey through the years as we talked about the future. And when we got to the other side of the journey to like the present, and we come up to that cliff, and we relived all these memories, good ones and bad ones. We standing at that precipice. Said, so should I jump? And it was like, I was waiting for him to say yes or no. And when he said, it's like he came to a conclusion. And this was the conclusion. He's sitting in his granddad chair with the window behind him and all the beautiful Oregonian pines behind him, like lining the background.
Nice.
But it was a dark room, and I remember it being kind of dark, but I could see the light outside. And I remember him kind of looking up at me. It's like after thinking a great thought and going, there is no team on the planet that does collaboration better than Palau. It was like a statement.
Wow.
Boom.
Wow.
Like my decision. Boom. Good, bad, ugly, history, and everything in between. And the closing statement judgment on the matter is there is no team that does collaboration better than Palau.
Yeah.
You have my blessing to do this.
Wow.
And then I said, well, I can't just have your blessing. Like, I need your help, Dr. Tim. Would you help me do this? And he said, if you call me, I'll come. And the matter was kind of settled. And there was other steps. Like I wanted to just check in with my friends that used to be very active in the network to see if they would like it. And I checked, I called, and everybody was like, hey, Tom, this is cool. This is cool that you're thinking about this. Oh, that would be really neat. Cool.
Yeah.
So coming back to you on that and then saying yes was not just about the potential I saw in the next generation, but it was about the mantle that I understood that Palau carried from all these amazing leaders that had taught me things. in my young years. And I recognized that I was being asked to be a bridge between these two universes.
Yeah.
So thank you for that honor. It's the honor of a lifetime.
It's been a joy so far, Tom. It's been really great. And, I'm always thinking about three things, again, forgive my alliteration and 3 points, I'm Baptist, but, now, next, and not yet. What is now? What is next? What is not yet? That's the thinking around the network. What is now? What's next? What's not yet? Now, we need strategy for now. What is next? We need vision for. Vision directs that. What is not yet? Faith applies. And so as we look forward from here, those are the three things that I think about. What is now, what is next, and what is not yet. And that helps me to frame how we deal with all of these things, and how we approach it and how we think through different forms of the network itself. And mission for me and what we're doing, the locus of what we're doing is where those three circles intersect. That is what we are living in right now.
Yeah. And there was something that you said to me just to kind of like really hone in and close out this particular thought is you asked me as the job description before there was an official job description. It was like, Palau has clearly done some things for you. Some of it we understand. Some of it, the people who did that for you probably aren't even here or we don't remember.
Yeah.
Whatever it was that was significant that made you stick with it all these years, could you do that for the kids?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, could I do that for the kids? Because you were highlighting to me, not just one person, not just, it wasn't like be Luis to the kids. I'm not Luis. I'm not even close to Luis. I don't even do the same kinds of things as Luis. But it was all these relationships, the best of the relationships that God has brought into your life to help form your character and longevity, passion for the gospel, and desire to even be connected in this way. Can you help the kids with that? And I was like, man, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Because I knew exactly those faces, names, timestamps, moments where I was sink or swim or even ready to give up. And the Plow team was there for me.
Yeah.
My first community, even before the local church, which is not the way it's supposed to happen, but it is what ended up happening. And then God sent me a local church after that.
Yeah.
And that was what, I don't think I would even love the local church today if it wasn't for a member of the Palau team who stood with me when my wife was dying and said, the Lord knows.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't just the Lord knows, it was like, don't forget, Tom.
Yeah.
The church is the bride of Christ.
Yeah.
And Jesus died for his bride. He's coming back for his bride. Like, you can't hate the local church. You can't hate it.
Yeah.
Even if it's failed you. And he walked me through those times. So there was lots of faces, lots of names, lots of moments that stick up to me. And now as I step into that next gen role, I see so clearly how you and I are aligned on relationship and intentionality, because it wasn't just, hey, do what Dr. Tim and some other guys did for you. It was, hey, I've also chosen to be intentional with you, Tom, and I'd like you to be intentional with the next generation. So if there are young people out there who like the way I do things and are responding to that, like, you can thank this guy Desmond for that. No, and I really want to say that. In all honesty, I want it to be recorded. I want to be able to refer back to this over and over again, maybe even put in your Nobi or whatever the training thing is we're going to use, that Desmond embodies the values that we as a network are looking to aspire to. And he did this when nobody thought he could do it or should do it. He did this when it was not very clear even what he should do. And he made intentional investments. And frankly, the network didn't have any resources when I was a young person to even fully invest. All we had was relational connections that happened
Yeah.
at an annual conference, and then whatever missions played out from there.
Yeah.
Now it's a new day, and Desmond is stewarding not only great opportunities but great resources, and it's not like we're giving things away, but we, in some ways we are, but
Yeah.
but we're not giving it away unto just having stuff. We're investing in relationships, and we're investing in the next generation.
Yeah.
So when you think about what's not yet, we're starting to see young members join the network who don't have this backstory, and it's going to be news to a lot of people, maybe even some older members, like, whoa, that's a lot. I didn't even know. Or maybe they did, or maybe they could throw some more people under the bus. I don't know. But the young people coming into this situation are dreaming their dreams.
Yeah.
They're thinking about the future. They're thinking about their possibilities in ministry. There is no Luis Palau today. We're just Palau. Luis is gone to heaven. Andrew and Wendy are still doing some festivals, but within the Global Network context, in so many ways, Global Network is part of the future, a big part of the future. And we've redefined our reason why.
Mm-hmm.
So if Luis and being like Luis is not the why, what is it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, Tom, just to add to what you're saying, we are not looking to create projects of the network, but we're looking at products of the network. And when you look at what we're looking at, our vision is to create communities of evangelists who are committed to completing the Great Commission together. And so the vision for tomorrow is community-driven, it's passionate about mission, and it is seen as interdependent. We've got to do this together.
Yeah.
And that flies in the face of the current cultural and ministry culture around us that is highly individualistic, highly competitive as well.
It is.
And we're not trying to create competition. We are trying to create kingdom collaboration. And that happens only when two things come into play, I think. When we have, firstly, humility, and then when there is this boldness to proclaim, boldness to innovate, boldness to think through new things. And Luis Palau might have been one of the reasons why the network gathered in this at the start and for many years.
Yeah.
He was such a unique evangelist. What an amazing gift to us from God. But of course, the culture that was created around the ministry is something that we embrace wholeheartedly. And that's something that we want to see as part of the network as well. And so it's not centered on an individual, but it's that culture, the way things are done in a good sense, that we want to move on to that, or impart on the next generation as well. And so that's really what we're looking at. And again, we're looking at co-creating things together. And so we speak of the Malawi model. Well, why did we start with Malawi? Well, it was just practical then. It could have been anywhere in the world.
Sure.
It was just, COVID is here, that's going on, let's maximize that opportunity. Take a zoom out globally. We were focusing on collaboration models in actual evangelistic practice in Africa. Simultaneously in Latin America, we were focused on building country networks. And so that we haven't done that yet in Latin America. 2025 marked the watershed moment where we did our first collaborative outreach in Latin America. So we took the principles.
This is recent.
This year. A month ago. In Rafaela, Argentina.
Yeah.
So we took the principles of the model in Africa, and we tested it in Argentina, and we're starting to form a model, and it's working. There are differences, there are nuances, but the principles remain the same. And what we're now doing is we're moving that around, where we continue the collaborative model in Africa, but what we're doing is we're saying, we're focusing in addition to that on country networks in Africa and the collaborative model. And in Latin America, we will focus on the same. And so we're building innovative approaches in every continent, that will address the unique challenges of that continent. And I think that excites me because we need a new generation who has just the passion of the Lord to embrace a new thing in a new day. And, I often hear people pray, oh, Lord, do it again like you did in the revivals. And here we are in New England, we're in this amazing part of the world. And so much of revival history comes from here.
Yeah.
And I hear, and maybe you are one of those young leaders that say, do it again, Lord. And I want to say, don't say that. Don't say do it again. Rather say, Lord, help me to sing a new song. What is something new that you want to do in this generation? And that's what we want to cultivate together.
Yeah. Which means that we're not asking young people to do it our way then, are we?
No.
Not fully.
No, but what we are asking is to embrace one another and to embrace the culture that the network basically comes with. And so to give you an illustration, 3 kinds of trees.
3 again.
3. There's a theme, but hey, there's the Trinity, right? So there we go. It's biblical. It's in the Bible. There are 3 kinds of trees. I mean, I love gardening. There's a bonsai, which is a phenomenal plant. I love bonsais. They're a little finicky, You've got to wire them to shape them. You've got to trim the roots. You've got to make sure that they position in the right place, just the right amount of water, whilst the roots rot. And they're pretty epic plants, but they never really reach the full potential for which they were created. They're limited in many ways, but they're also very, very fragile. Then you have, of course, this amazing banyan tree, which is this incredible tree that's indigenous to India. In fact, the largest in the world is about 1 kilometer. Now, I don't know what that is in miles. Look it up, Google it.
Just say, you're on it, buddy.
There we go.
We'll put it at the bottom of the screen.
That's big.
Write that down.
That's really big.
Yeah.
Right? And it gets so big that an entire ecosystem lives off of this banyan tree. Animals and bird life and everything. But the problem is when that tree dies, and it does die, it leaves behind a scorched earth. Nothing can survive. It's gone, It's all over.
Yeah.
But the third illustration I always look at is an amazing ecosystem. It's the single largest ecosystem in living in the world, and it is the Pando Forest in Utah. And as you look at the Pando Forest from the top, you would see these quaking aspen trees. They all look different. They all are different shapes and sizes, different ages, and so they're all very different from what it appears. But what unites them and what sustains them is beneath the surface is this incredibly interwoven nature of these trees, dependent on one another. And so if one fails or if one is struggling, the nutrients from the whole ecosystem, the living organism of the Pando Forest, sustains all the others as well. And so the question we really want to ask as the network is, what kind of tree do you want to be? Do you want to be the bonsai? And man, there are a lot of bonsais out there. There are a lot of leaders that are very particular. They like the way things are done. They want to look a certain way. They want to be unique. They have their own thing going. And that's what it is. Then there are others that are like, they seem larger than life. Man, so much happens within the ecosystem of their leadership, but they don't transfer that to the next generation. And when they're gone, everything goes with them.
Oh, wow.
But the Pando Forest in Utah is so different because when one tree dies, the ecosystem continues, another one is born. In fact, when a tree falls over, it lets more sunlight in, and others are able to reach towards that sunlight. And
that's a cool
that's
networking picture.
That's what we want to create, right?
Yeah.
That is what we want to create.
Well, good luck to you, Desmond. That's all. No, I'm just kidding. All right, I have one question for faith-to-faith support base.
Yes.
Here, and this, we don't have to spend a long time on it. Just a very simple answer would be, good is
give more money.
No, it's but because I'm doing this role in G&E, can you help explain the importance of faith-to-faith still? That I'm not being swallowed up in Palau or even faith-to-faith disappearing. Like, how do you see this working? Because I think that can be confusing for people. So if you could explain that from your perspective, I think that might be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope I'll add value to that. I think, I wish we had 12 Tommy Miyashiros, to be honest, all around the world, around the country, who are rooted in a particular context, who have shown character and fruit in a particular context and continue to do that, because I believe that shapes whatever happens out in culture. And one of the things that I've just seen and appreciated about your ministry is that you're doing it already, and you're inviting others into a living context within which ministry is happening. And so you're not trying to teach people principles of what you once did sometime in the past. You're teaching people as you're creating things.
Thank you. Yeah,
and you're adapting and adjusting. And I think that adds such tremendous value. And here's the other piece, we need individuals and ministries to really come together and say, how can we stand alongside each other and even co-share things?
Yeah.
Palau is a fairly large organization compared to faith, as you often remind me and say to me. But here's the thing. I depend on what you bring to the table, because it's not just Palau's budget that comes to bear. You're doing stuff that I don't even know about. And you're adding value to this ministry together. And because we're in it together and our partnership and collaboration comes together, we can do far more than what we can do on our own. And that's the power of the network, and that's the power of our partnership together. And so I want to say to your donor base and to leaders who are part of your ministry, and this is not solicited at all, but I want to say, keep supporting this ministry. Keep pouring into this. Keep giving, and give at even greater levels, so that what happens here in the New England and in the East Coast region and whatever Tom is involved in, that it would just thrive, because what you do matters. And the ecosystem of evangelism and the kingdom depends on it.
Thank you, Desmond. That's really kind. Now, I want to end going back to our young evangelists and giving something really important to them, because we've talked about a lot of high-level things, even given look behind the curtain at internal things. We've talked about different organizational things and lots of constructs for how missions and evangelism should move around the world. But let's bring it right down to brass tacks. If I'm a young person and I want to get going in the network, what do I do? What should I do?
Build friendship. Friendship is what we all need. We all need relationships that will form and inform our lives. We need to reach out and not only seek those things, but be those things to other people as well. So I would encourage you, if you see this network as advancing your ministry, and it can and it will, but if you want to join so that somehow there's this magic formula to your success, please don't join. Please stay away. If you see yourself as a bonsai, like you want to build this beautiful, please don't join. But if you want to see yourself as part of a living ecosystem that holds you accountable, that has the hard conversations, that nourishes you, that feeds into your life, but that also, grows you in different ways, join and be a part of it. This is a relational network, and you make of it as much as you want to.
Yeah. We have some basic offerings. We go on mission trips together. Yep. We sometimes meet up just to connect and get to know each other more. And we probably have learning environments, but it's not like G&E is necessarily always taking the lead on those things, but we connect everybody who's doing all those things and help you find where you fit into this world. I guess that's how I'd explain it.
Right.
Is there anything I'm missing in that, in terms of like finding that first step to get involved? How would I go about taking that first step?
Well, I mean, the first step is, if you know someone in the network, that's a great place to start, connecting with them, finding out, how they can get involved, what their next steps are. And that's the key thing for us. We want to know how we can serve you. What are your next steps? What are the dreams that God has placed in your heart? And once we know, we're able to position you for growth within the network.
Yeah.
And so if you're launching out a ministry, we've got amazing team members that could help coach you on a variety of things.
That's important.
We'll put you in those relationships. And here's the thing, and you know this, Tom, because again, you're a product of this ecosystem.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whatever we have as Palau, we will make available to you to learn, grow, and develop in every way, organizationally, personally, in resources where we can do it.
Yep.
We want to be generous because that's part of our values. Be generous with whatever God has given to us. We will not hold back. And there's a whole generation of Toms and others who've seen that to be true.
Absolutely.
We want you to be that next generation.
I love that. And I remember when Brad Butcher was the assistant director of NGA G&E way back in the day, and I was trying to figure out, how do I connect and how do I become a part of this ecosystem? And he said, this is a very big ecosystem. And he said, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you need something, call, text, email, call again, email again, text again. And the person who keeps showing up is the one who's going to get helped. So young people, you need to take initiative. The ghosty stuff we like to do, and by we I mean you, that doesn't work in this environment. You have to show up and show up again, and keep asking questions and keep asking for help, and we will serve you. So thank you, Dr. Des, for coming to New England. We're so happy to have you here. This is the first thing we're doing off the plane. We had some coffee to wake you up. Now we did all this crazy work. And now my wife has made us a delicious supper.
Can't wait.
We're going to do that now. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all you do for the kingdom, man. It's huge.
What a joy. Thanks, Tom.
Next week on the Gospelcast, tune in to see our special guest, Joe Paskowich. You certainly won't want to miss it.